Hi, it's Chrisanne, and I'm coming at you from Elemental Energies with Chrisanne here in Wells, Maine. So today I want to have a conversation because this is something that has come up to me. People have been talking to me about what to look for in a Reiki teacher. What do you look for in a Reiki instructor, especially if you're somebody that is very serious about being a Reiki practitioner? It is super important that you ask the right questions. So, I'm going to help you with what are the right questions to ask. Whenever anybody used to come into my shop, I used to say to them, listen, these are the questions that you need to ask, whether it's me you're studying with or somebody else. Because a lot of people came into the shop and they were visiting and they weren't from the area. Many people did travel to study with me, and I was super, super, super honored. But here is what to look for if you're not in my area. I am still in quarantine. This is January of 2021, and I'm still in quarantine, and I'm potentially going to be in quarantine for another year. So, I'm not going to be teaching any classes one-on-one or in person. I am not a fan of doing the classes online unless you have already studied with that person before, whatever, but that's super limited. I'm really not a fan of online classes, and here I'm going to explain why. So, when you find a Reiki teacher, you need to have somebody that you resonate with. These are the questions you ask. How long have you been working? Who trained you? Ask these things of your teachers. When were you trained? And, like, who was your teacher? Um, what is your line of lineage back to the original masters? I've been doing Reiki over 27 years and as a Reiki practitioner. And I have a very short line back to the original masters. Ask that question. I'll bet you many can't answer it because they don't know, which is really sad. But ask it anyways because it's kind of a cool question. How long is the class? When I teach a Reiki class, whether it be Reiki 1, Reiki 2, or Reiki 3, not Reiki Master Teacher, I have a full day class. I used to teach my classes in 2 days. And the reason I stopped doing that is because I found most people couldn't commit to 2 days, which blew my mind. Because if you're serious about learning this craft, this art form, this fantastic way of giving back, you need to commit. And most people couldn't commit. So I made my class an all day class. I used to teach Sundays only. Rarely I would do a Saturday, Sunday back to back, but pretty much it was an all day. And I would tell people, if you have a time crunch, you need to let me know because I will go over. If I see that somebody in the class isn't getting it, I'll go over an hour. I'll go over an hour and a half. I'll go over 2 hours, need be. I need my people to get it. Here's the other thing. Ask how many people are in the class. I never had more than 4, 5, or 6 people in my class. I liked small classes because I could give more one-on-one attention and I could make sure that my students were understanding. I could make sure my students were feeling the energy, doing the movements in the proper way, understanding what they were feeling, able to work with other people because you work with each other within your class. Um, Also ask, what does the class include? And here's what you need to look for. In Reiki 1 is all about self-care. It is all about learning the hand positions, and it's especially about learning the history of Usui Reiki. And to me, you need to start with Usui Reiki before you move on to any other types of Reiki. I am Reiki trained in a gazillion other forms of Reiki, and I do teach some of those as well as Usui Reiki, but I will not take anybody in any of those other classes unless they are a minimum of Usui 2 Reiki trained. It all starts with Usui Reiki, and I really strongly suggest you do Usui Reiki before you move into any other Angel Reiki, Archangel, Michael Reiki, any of those others. You really have to have the understanding of where Reiki came from and what the movements and the hand positions and the whole theory behind Usui Reiki. So let's get back to what is involved in the classes. Reiki 2 is all about learning Reiki symbols, how to use them, how to pronounce them, how to draw them, how to properly utilize them. It's all about how to open and close the body. And I find that many people can't do that. It is also about learning about the 3 levels of the body. Some teachers teach 4, I teach 3. I actually explain both of them in my class, and I explain why I go with the 3 versus the 4, but I teach both. Um, it's all about learning how to work with other people because you are not a Reiki practitioner until after Reiki 2. And you need to have X amount of time practicing on X amount of people. There's more than just like going taking a class and then the next day setting up shop. That's not how it works. And you need to also have a really deep, clear, functioning understanding of the chakras. And I know a lot of people don't teach that too. And that isn't in traditional Usui Reiki, but I thought it was so important that I include that in mine. Also in mine, which is not common in other people's, I teach how to utilize a pendulum and how to utilize the pendulum if you don't have, some people don't have the ability to feel the energy with their hands, and Reiki is about feeling the energy with their hands. But sometimes you may have some health problems. And so I teach people 2 ways to feel the energy with hands, vibration, all of that type of stuff, as well as pendulum. That is not a common practice in other classes. So don't like condemn somebody for not teaching that. And there's a couple other things that are involved in Reiki too, but that's the overview. The overview of Reiki 3 and what you need to look for are deep level clearing, working with your guides, their guides. I'm a psychic medium as well. And I do find it important to be able to listen and hear where are you guided to go. Doesn't matter who's saying it, but you need to pay attention to some of those messages that are coming in. Yes, you should be able to feel the energy with your hands and know I need to go here because I'm feeling this and I can feel the difference in this energy here versus the energy here. And this means this and this means that. Great. But you also need to listen to your intuition and those messages that are coming in, and then go there and feel that energy as well. You need to be able to do clearing, open and close the body on this one too, clearing the chakras, do a deep grounding, or connecting up. Many people want to be connected up, and you need to know how to use your Reiki abilities to do certain techniques. There's a lot of techniques. That's just a brief overview. You need to know how to work with some crystals. That is not typical. That is something I add into mine. So don't condemn other teachers for that, please. But for me, I'm big into crystals. You've watched my videos or you've been to the shop, or you've watched any of my stuff, I'm really big into crystals. So I utilize crystals on the table with my person to have that energy going as well as the Reiki energy going. It's a really cool thing. So what is your teacher chuck in that maybe is a little bit different? Maybe they add a different twist to it. So all of these classes are at least a minimum of 1 full day each. I have seen teachers do 2 hours and say, okay, there you go, you're done. I'm not done talking after 2 hours, let alone getting you to understand. Sometimes it takes 2 hours just to understand the symbols in Reiki too, how to draw them, how to utilize them. the meaning of them and the different ways you can use them. That's 2 hours right there sometimes. So, yeah. Here's another question that I find really important when you're looking for a Reiki teacher. Can I contact you after the class to ask follow-up questions? I give my students permission to contact me for life. I just ask that you recognize the time zones that I'm in and call within reasonable hours. Call, text, etc. I think that's really important because if you've taken a Reiki 2 class and you're practicing on a minimum of 5 people and you're doing 25 hours worth of practice, and maybe something comes up, maybe you felt something different on this person versus this person, you want to talk about that. It is okay to pick up the phone and call me if you've studied with me. Make sure you have that permission with your instructor as well, because I think that follow up is super, super important. Um, how long do I need to practice as your student before I can work? That's an important question. If somebody says, oh, you just take the class and you go, please don't. No, that is not safe. No. Is the class in person versus online? My gosh. I know we're in the middle of a pandemic and a lot of things have gone digital, but I like to know that my students are feeling the energy. They're doing the proper hand movements and motions. I need to see that they're getting it. And I can't do that via Zoom. So I need to make sure I can feel, because if I'm standing next to them, I can feel the energy. I need to be able to feel that. If you're taking a Zoom class, maybe you're one of 200, 2,000 students. It's harder to ask questions. So I just shy away from that. Ask how many are in the class. Because if you're somebody that likes to ask questions, and I've had people in my classes that love to ask questions, and I'm good with questions because that shows me your interest in learning and understanding what it is that we're talking about. And I think that's super, super important. So if you're somebody that likes to ask questions, ask that question. How many people are in this class? Because that lets you know whether you'll be able to ask your questions or not. And here's another one just to chuck in. What else do I get in the class? In my class, you're getting your certificate of completion of class. You're getting a book, a Reiki book that you can use as a reference. So if you're taking all 3 of these classes, Reiki 1, Reiki 2, and Reiki 3 with me, you're going to have 3 different books. That does not mean Reiki Master Teacher. Reiki 3 and Reiki Master Teacher are completely separate classes. You need to make sure you have a full class for each one. When you learn to be a Reiki Master Teacher, you are learning how to do the attunements. And ask your teacher, what type of attunements do you do? Some people do the quickie deal attunements. I don't. I do the traditional long form attunements. And attunement means that I am taking energetically the Reiki symbols and I'm putting those into your body with sometimes a hands on and a hands off method of putting those symbols and that energy within to your chakras and putting them throughout your body. It is done while somebody is sitting in a chair in my class. Ask how the attunements are done. Mostly my attunements are hands off, but there are a couple moments where it's hands on, and I do let my students know before I start that. So if you're doing a Reiki Master Teacher class, you need to know how to do each and every one of those attunements. And there's not just one attunement per class. If you're doing the long form attunements like I am, and I call them long form, there's multiple attunements for each of these classes. So that's like a full day workshop of learning that. And I do like to do that class one-on-one because I want to make sure you're getting it. I don't mind doing one-on-one classes. I kind of prefer some of a lot of these other Reiki 1, Reiki 2, and Reiki 3. You need to have other people in the class so you can practice with your other person that's your fellow student that's in the class with you. Ask that. Um, if I had somebody that really wanted to learn and it was only one person in the class, I always made sure I had somebody around to be my Reiki guinea pig that they could practice on that person. And that person was skilled enough to give feedback as well. So if there's only one person in the class, ask, is there going to be somebody I can practice on? Who am I practicing on? You can't practice on your teacher because your teacher needs to be there to oversee what's going on and making sure you're doing things right. Okay. So, the other thing I didn't mention in Reiki 2, you're also learning how to do distance Reiki. And that's a really important thing that really can take an hour, hour and a half just to learn the distance Reiki technique itself. It's not a 2-second thing. So, huh, lots to look for when you're looking for a Reiki teacher. I am not going to be teaching Reiki until most likely 2023. I would like to teach it. I'm sorry, 2022. Jumping ahead. I would like to teach it in the summer of 2021, but chances are I'm not going to be. So if it's something that you're interested in studying with me and you want to get on my waiting list will be starting in 2022 in spring, summer. Okay. And yeah, I'm a stickler with my students. I want to make sure that they get it. And that's really important to me because my name is on their certificate. So that's important to me to have them understand how to utilize the Reiki energy, what they're working with, the importance of working with Reiki energy because it is a super high honor to be able to be of service for somebody else, to be able to help them within their life going forward. So, going forward and working with other people is a big deal. And frankly, I really wish I had the ability to have all of these classes be 2 day. But because of how we are as humans, it never worked out that they could always come for one but not the other, and that just wasn't going to cut it. So I do full long day classes and I make sure they know it's a long day class. And you know it's all about having fun and learning. You can't learn in a regimented way. You need to have fun and make sure you click with your teacher's personality and understand what it is that they're looking for and what you're looking for. It is a relationship. It is a form of relationship that this person is going to be the one that you potentially could ask questions to for the rest of your life. And I have had students come back 5, 6, 8 years later and say, hey, can I run this by you? Yes, you can. So have fun going forward to learn Usui Reiki and some other forms of Reiki that are out there. And I hope my little list of questions has been helpful to you. So I'm Chrisanne, and I'm from Elemental Energies with Chrisanne. Check me out on Facebook. Of course, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, but you can also check out my website, www.elementalenergieswithchrisanne.com. Thank you very much, and I hope this helps you on your journey for Reiki. Be free.